Hello, friends. Welcome to the 999 show. Live art. I started this mask actually in the summer. So I'm just going to be painting it tonight. Starting the process anyway of painting it. You know, it's got some nice ASMR-ish brush strokes. We're going to put this sort of a pinky color over the whole thing. It's just the first coat. It has a crazy ender. Yeah, welcome. It got you interested in welcome. Well, I did this mask, paper mache mask, and I painted the probably did it towards the end of summer. Willow, thank you. Welcome. And welcome, Crazy Ender. I did change my channel name. I changed my channel name to back to what it was in the beginning, 999 show. Because it used to be, we used to be 999 ASMR Tarot, and now it's just 999 show. And so that's where we're at. We'll see what's going to happen here. I still haven't watched that movie, though it's in my list of movies to watch, the Ender's Game with Harrison Ford and other people. I have read several of the books, though. So the first coat here is just going to be this pinky color. It's going to take a lot of thin layers of paint, and we're just going to do this, and this is just sort of a while we figure out what to do with it. Oftentimes, when I don't really know what to do with something, I just put it aside and I stare at it for a while. And I've been staring at this for months now. I'm still not quite sure what to do with it. I think I should have put some gel medium down first. Okay. Welcome, gaming leader. Tomorrow night I'm going to play chess. I have my computer chessboard, and I'm going to give that a go again. Hopefully I just won't get slaughtered like I did the other night on New Year's Day around this time. I just the computer chessboard just anyways, I'm going to mix up a little bit more paint here. So what this is Zilveron Crimson, and I'm mixing it with a little titanium white, and then I'm putting one other color in there. You do not follow the whims of the stubborn soul. I lower my gaze as long as my neighbor appears to me, until my neighbor hides in her shelter. I am a man of easygoing nature and noble. I do not follow the whims of a stubborn soul. I should do some reading here. Maybe I'll read some poetry soon. This color is not the same as that color, so it needs a little bit more of this titanium white. The titanium white. The seeds of my soul. in primary colors, mixed and matched to shades of blue and gray, purple, it is the way. Well, I'm not going to make it a creepy robber mask. I was going to make it a friendly dog face, but maybe not. I actually don't know what it's going to be. It probably will be creepy, because these things, masks, tend to be kind of creepy. But we are going to we're putting a initial coat of color down, and from here, it will become something else. But so we start with just a little bit of color. And I forgot a step first before I began. I needed to put something, because this was, underpainting was dried on here real hard. Dried on real hard and firm. I should have put some gel medium down first. But oh well. We're into it now. We're knee deep into it. Into the mud. Crossing that river right now. Getting wet. Getting dirty. Having fun. Do you remember being a child and catching frogs? Tadpoles, pollywogs, in a marsh, in a ditch, in the nature of the natural world? There was a day, many days like that when I was a kid, playing. It's funny, it's so much more fun to play in the mud as a kid than it is as an adult. The last time I played in the mud as an adult, I wasn't playing, I was doing it for X number of dollars per hour. I was working with a friend from high school who had a surveying business. God rest his soul. He passed on a few years ago in 2018. His family was friends with my family. His family immigrated to Sweden, just like my family immigrated to America from Sweden. Not all of my family. It's kind of funny, though, that they immigrated and they immigrated to the United States around the same time, and they came from just like one village over in Sweden. I don't know if they knew each other. Maybe they did. They could have been cousins for all I know. But they knew each other when they came here. Sometimes that's the way it works. But his uncle was a surveyor, a land surveyor. You know, we take the transom and the other pieces of equipment, and you have a helper. So I was the helper, and we were hiking up in the mud and hiking up in the hills. I remember it was almost like the first day, but it wasn't quite the first day. I was so exhausted. And I wonder if I have a picture. I have a picture of myself, I think. that day when I was did that. Yeah, this was it. And you can see just the tiredness on my face. And this is up in the woods, and it was wet and miserable. I think it might even been down at the coast. Wet and miserable. In my eyes, you can see how tired I was. So tired that day. It was cold and miserable. Yeah. And anyways, where was I? That playing in the mud when you're a kid is so much fun. You go home, lunchtime, your mom is there. Mom is there just making. I need to have a little. Maybe we'll try it with this primary yellow. Add that in there instead of that yellow ochre. Take the rose and add a little bit of this color to it to make it a little bit more earthy tones. I think I want to add some gel medium to it at this time. And I'm using a Liquitex acrylic medium. This is, in a more simpler sense, this is actually just glue. So Mod Podge, if you ever used Mod Podge before, well, this stuff is a more high-tech version of Mod Podge. That's what this is. And so I'm going to mix this in. It'll kind of thin down the paint a little bit, but we're kind of working on it. I guess we just went up a shade. I changed the shades just a little bit here. You know, if you're just joining in, it's 999 show. We're doing art. We're doing art today. Art. I need to change that color a little bit. It's a little bit too orangey. A little bit too orangey. I should have too much orange in it. Yeah, well, maybe that's where the color is going. It's going to orange. Oh, it's all right. Because at this point of the game, the exact color doesn't matter because we're laying colors down and the final color is what's important, not the initial colors, not the groundwork that you lay down. Well, this mask, as somebody said, this mask is never going to have any eye slits. So this is not a mask that anybody is ever going to wear. This is a mask that is going to be hung on the wall like a display. That's what the purpose of this mask is. It is pure art. Pure art. But it was made out of paper mache. I haven't done paper mache for a couple months. I need to do it again. Now we're going to change this color this way. Going up. When you use these transparent colors, the color that's down below becomes a part of the color above, and it adds depth to the painting. It adds depth to it. And so not all paintings are flat. Some paintings are like this. They have depth to them. They're in a 3D sort of a thing. So I need to mix up some more paint. This is Azilron Crimson. And these are golden. I'm not using any student grade paints with this. I'm using all professional grade paints simply because I am expecting that this is going to turn out good, and I'm going to be able to sell it for at least $100. That's what my expectations are, and that is what I'm shooting for. Azilron Crimson, my friend. Yes, I probably pronounced it wrong, but that's okay. I was never any good at pronouncing words. I'm not as bad as my mother is at butchering words, but I'm making a color here that I'm adding. I need to, do I want to add that primary yellow back into it? Maybe, just a tad bit. I really kind of want to go back, and I'm going to add, welcome David, welcome. I'm going to put, this is yellow ochre. We're putting some yellow ochre in it. And I like how that's going to just change things up. I don't want it to become all that orangey. Oh, that's how Bob Ross said it. I'll have to Thank you. You're welcome. I like Bob Ross. I remember when Bob Ross was on PBS during the middle of the afternoon. I think I watched him when he was still alive, but I'm not really positive because, I mean, he's been passed on quite a few years. And I don't think that I could have watched him during that time, when he was on during the day, because I think I was like working during that time. My jobs, but I do remember. I know that I watched the reruns when they were on PBS, and I did watch them. It was one of my favorite shows. You know, the happy accidents and the happy clouds, and thank you. Don't forget to, if you like my content, there's the like button, and there's also those other buttons too. I really want to get it out to 1,000 subs as soon as possible. But tonight I'm just going to be putting. You painted in middle school with a Bob Ross painting kit. Yeah, you know, I haven't been successful reproducing anything that Bob Ross paints, but every time I do still watch a lot of painting videos, and if I want to like learn how to paint water with reflections on the water, well, I always go to those Bob Ross videos because, as you say, they are the best. But Bob Ross, I never seen Bob Ross ever talk about underpaintings. He never mentioned underpaintings, and I ran across the whole concept of underpaintings over the summer when I was like trying to figure out how to use wax pastels. They're just sort of water soluble crayons, and so and I remember using pastels a long time ago, long time ago. I think I was like just coming out of high school, and I had a whole kit of oil pastels. But at that time in my life, I just didn't have the skills at all for painting. I took 2 years of art in high school, and yeah. But David, you can pick painting up again. There's always is time to do that. My recommendation for anybody who's picking up painting is to just simply, well, first off, my first piece of advice is purchase the highest quality of stuff that you can afford. And that's true with everything. If you're like doing any kind of hobby or anything like that, you want to get the highest quality of products, and try to stay away from Walmart for buying art supplies. Buy your art supplies at legitimate art stores. Stay away from Michael's. Stay away from Walmart. Stay away from Fred Meyer's. Now they do sell supplies. I did get this thing at Walmart or at a Fred Meyer's, but I buy all my paint supplies at a brick and mortar store. I don't buy anything on Amazon when it comes to painting supplies. I do buy stuff from Amazon, but simply because I live in a very remote location. But I find that going to brick and mortar stores, they're always cheaper than is like things on Amazon. For instance, I'm going to just pull these crayons out. These are these are water-based wax pastels. I bought them individually, all for like $1.25 piece at an art store. But individually, the cheapest price I've seen them individually on Amazon is $2 each. And so I wouldn't. So if you're buying these things individually, don't buy them on Amazon if you want a good price. These are Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. I use that. And all my paints are either golden or Amsterdam. So the Amsterdam paints are student grade paints, and I use those for practice. And so I have a whole set of practice paints, and I have a whole set of professional paints. And what I'm using now, is all professional paints. Like I had said probably 10 minutes ago, is that I have every intention of making this mask as a sellable item. And so since I want it to be a sellable item, I'm not using student grade paints in it. I'm just going to be using all professional grade stuff. And so for like gel medium, Liquitex, this is it's kind of in between, but it is a good product. Golden, this is a glazing fluid. I can use this to mix the paints down. You can mix them with water. You can mix them with fluids like this. And when I get down towards the end of this mask, I'm going to be using this fluid here, and then it's going to be, and more layers of paint that go on this thing, the longer it's going to take for those paints to dry. And so I'm going to make another color here. And so the technique that I'm using is I'm applying thin layers of paint, and the surface of this painting has of this mask painting has an underpainting on it. and it was done using warm over cool colors. So I think that, I'm not sure exactly how I did it, because I did it like in September, maybe as late as October, but I think it was September. Kind of the same, same similar technique as this is an underpainting on a little canvas panel. And when you start laying those colors down on top of it, it gets more of a 3D effect. So this is a practice painting on watercolor paper, but I did use the Golden products, and this had an underpainting on it, and you can tell, you can kind of see that underpainting clear back under there, but it brings out a more of a 3D effect by using underpaintings. And I didn't know about underpaintings a year ago, but I know about them now, and I am a firm believer that when you're doing paintings, that you really want to do underpaintings, unless you're practicing. I don't know. There are some times when you don't need to do one, but see, Bob Ross never talked about underpaintings, but what he did talk about was using a thin layer of liquid white over his primed canvases. So he primed those canvases, I'm assuming with gesso and other mediums first, and then before he started painting one, he put this stuff called liquid white down, and then he did a technique of painting called wet on wet. So it was wet on wet, and so the only other place that you really use, well, this is wet on wet now. That you're doing a wet on wet is like with watercolor. And I don't know too much about watercolor, but I'm going to be venturing into watercolor this year. I have used acrylic paints and thin them down and use them like they were watercolor. And so I'm going to we have this color here. It's kind of a cream color. I think I might add that color on here next. Maybe I'll take a little touch of this blue and this primary cyan, and it'll gray things down. And so we'll just see where this goes from here. And it's going to be using, I don't want to overuse this. I don't want to put a whole bunch of this stuff down, but we're using a lot of this gel medium now. And it will, each layer of this stuff we put down, it makes the dry time a little bit slower. And so this kind of a thinned out layer, you're going to be able to see. I'm going to go use this in the ears. And that color that's under there is coming out here too. So I know it kind of sounds like I am talking stream of consciousness right now, but how the old masters like Da Vinci and how they made their final colors was by not mixing that final color. They added thin layers of color on top of their paintings, and they were all thin layers of transparent colors. Now, see, Bob Ross didn't do this. He used all opaque, pretty much opaque colors, and that is a legitimate form of painting, of doing opaques. But what I'm trying to achieve here is doing multiple layers of thin colors, and I want to achieve my desired final shade. And when I get to that final shade, then I'll know that I'm there. So I'm going to stop painting this when the colors start to get muddy when I adding more more other layers onto it. So I kind of like this here because now what I'm trying to achieve is actually flesh. I'm trying to achieve a tone like that, and look, and you can see that color looks pretty damn similar to that, and with the in all those other colors are just shining through. And I'm going to put this in here, but eventually this color in the inner part of the ear is going to become a lot darker. You got this all the brush strokes, sounds, and maybe this video will make a relaxation video for somebody who likes the sound of brush strokes and can help them get to sleep. A Bob Ross painting kit. Then there was like the advertisements for the Bob Ross chia pets too. Chia. Chia. It's the man with the twisted face. The man with the twisted face. Well, actually, that sounds just like a Sherlock Holmes story. The man with the twisted lip. There was such a Sherlock Holmes story. I listened to a lot of, because I grew up without a TV. One of my aunt sent me for Christmas and my birthday these tapes of old-time radio shows. I suppose growing up without a TV is probably why I'm so strange. No TV turned me into a strange person. Now, I think my audio processing disorder did that. Being on the autistic spectrum is probably what made me strange. A person who has an inner child that right now I'm accessing that inner child. Hmm. 33 minutes in. I'm going to get this shade up, and I'm going to do one other task. I'm going to turn the camera off because it is 2 o'clock in the morning here. Tonight, I'm going to play my computer chessboard. So I'm running a variety show here. I have some tarot deck videos that I am releasing into the world. And so this is a transparent titanium white. And I think I'll just put it over here. And so what I like about golden colors, well, all the paints kind of do this. They show the opacity of it. And so this is a semi transparent paint, but you can actually do proofs on that for yourself. What I'm gonna do when I finish this coat is I'm working on making some cards, and I want to round the corners and then put a front-facing image on the front of it that and so, but I'm not going to do that today. We're going to do what we're doing today is mostly I'm making this color here. It's a little bit more blue than I want it to be. Let's just put a little bit of this Azilron Crimson in it. Now it's back into that pinky color. Pinky purple color. Put some more of this yellow in it. It's okay. It'll become something here. All these other colors will show through, and we'll have a real pretty color when it's all done and over with. Maybe on Saturday night we'll paint the eyeballs in it. I'll probably do another pop-up live later today as well, after I go to sleep. It is Friday for me after all. I like how that colors are starting to show through and shine through. All the colors that were there before, just plain peekaboo in the light. Peekaboo. 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 Peeka, peeka, peeky, 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 boo. A peekaboo. A peekaboo. Oh, boy. Does anybody know any good jokes? I don't know any jokes. I only know one joke. Just one joke. My math professor, because my degree in college was in mathematics, believe it or not. Mathematics and religious studies. Mathematics and then with a almost another full major in religious studies. I studied, took a year of biblical Hebrew. I went to a Baptist college, an American Baptist college, and so and after college I became a Catholic. I'm not really practicing right now. I haven't really practiced Catholicism in 5 years, but my mother, it's 4 a.m. Yeah, I'm just going to do a little bit more, because I've been, like, staying up till 5 for the last week, and so, and I need to go to town tomorrow, so I can't be sleeping in till 3 in the afternoon, and and I mean, I can do that, but it gets dark at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 4:30, and then with all this rain, and I'm gonna make up this color here, sort of this greeny color, and it is 4 a.m., which means you're in the center of the country, aren't you, Crazy Ender? You must be like, you're not on the East Coast, because if it was the East Coast, it would be 5 a.m. right now, because there's a 3-hour difference between, because I think it's like It's 2 o'clock in the morning for me, roughly. One, two, oh, Central Time. No, 2, 4. Yeah, yeah. You're probably like, are you like in the same level as like Michigan or something? Michigan? Is that? I don't know if I want to put that green color in here. That green like that. Let's go add some of this Azilron Crimson and see if I can get it to get the color changed, somewhat. Tennessee. Okay, so you're central in Tennessee. Yeah. I'm in Oregon and I live really close to the coast. Um I live not so close that your houses are $1 million a piece, but close enough that you could go to the beach every single day um, with less than an hour drive. That's kind of the zone that I'm kind of living in here. And it's very rural, very, very rural. You know, like, yeah, yeah, they're nice. I mean, it's expensive here. I mean, unless it's expensive. There's nothing cheap about living in Oregon, Washington, and California with property values and everything else, and everything costs a lot of money. You know, when you have to like drive. I mean, if you want to, I mean, there are local stores around where I live, but those local stores, it's $15 for a pound of cheese and $10 for a pound of hamburger and $10 for a dozen of eggs. And so if I go to a local store, and there's the same kind of stores that all they sell is like chips, beer, candy, gasoline and cigarettes and so forth, and cheap wine. And so if you want that, you can get that really easily. But if you want reasonably priced groceries, I gotta like drive 50 miles. You know, it's like a 50-mile drive. Yeah. No, I don't. I don't. It's not a crime, and it's not. It's not. There isn't a lot of crime out here, actually, especially not in the rural area. I mean, there. Okay. All right. All right. All right. There is. But you see, in these rural areas, people kind of look out for each other to a certain degree, and um, there's crime everywhere, but it's not that. I've had I had a bicycle stolen from me when I lived in a small city, um, 20 years ago, and that was and it got. But it was this park. I lived in this boarding house, and it was just parked out. I didn't even have it locked. I don't even think I had the damn bike locked up. It just walked off one day, and I wasn't using it, and it was just gone. And that's the only thing I've ever had stolen, piece of property stolen from me. And though I know people who've gotten, who have had parts of their car stolen from them, but a lot of it is that they were working on their cars and they didn't have locks on their cars, but then they felt that they were really younger people who if you can't lock your car and you put $1,000 stereo system in your car. Yeah. robbed for weed when you're 16. Yeah. Well, weed is legal out here. If you want it, weed is legal on the West Coast. It's legal in almost every single county in either California, Oregon, or Washington, and the whole West Coast. You can get legal weed, and well, it's funny when I was talking about grocery prices and having to go 50 miles to buy groceries, but there's two weed stores that are within like 1 or 2 miles of where I live. There's a casino that's really close by. If I want to go play slot machines, I can do that. But you want high quality produce, well, it's a 50-mile drive. But I used to live in Seattle, and I lived there from like 2003 to 2011. 2003 to 2011, yeah. Yeah. No, but see, I grew up here, and now over there in Tennessee, Mr. David, I probably have relatives because I have Mayflower roots. So like my John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley were passengers aboard the Mayflower that arrived on the shores, of Plymouth Rock, or what became Plymouth Rock in 1621. And so those are my roots. My first entry into this country came in 1621. And then there was another point of entry that happened before the Revolutionary War from and that person was from Ireland. But I don't know when that point when they came in. Yeah. Yeah, I don't use weed. I don't use alcohol either. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I don't. I know I don't. I have tried it. I was working for a long time. I was working in a casino, and they followed, because it was an Indian gaming casino. They followed the federal rules, and since weed is against the law federally, I was they it was also against the rules to use it there. So um, yeah, and so my all of my dad's family are from Sweden, and they came at two different times. The earliest point was like the 1890s, 1880s, 1890s, and then the rest of the last of them came like in the 19 teens, and so it was the points of entry that I know about is 1621, like 1890, 1890, and there were two. There was Sweden, a great grandparent from Sweden and a great grandparent from Germany came in the 1880s or 90s. I don't quite remember exactly. And then the last point of entry was also Swedish, and it was like I think it was in the 19 teens sometime. I know I have the documents, but yeah, Lithuania and Sweden. And how long have they been here? Did they come? Did they come from Sweden during the potato famine that occurred in the late 1800s? Because that was like a huge wave of Swedish immigration that came, and there was a huge wave of immigration from all European countries happened in the after the 1880s because they're of that famine that was the potato famine. Because it didn't just affect Ireland; it affected the entire continent of Europe. I think that's what, at least that's what I've had seen on like Finding Your Roots, the PBS show Finding Your Roots, and they, because they talked about those that potato that thing, and that is where a lot of people came. So it was the same time period, yeah. And it's crazy how last names were based on their father's first name. Swedish grandparents were, yeah. And you came as a young kid in 1920s through Ellis Island. Yes, yes. My great grandmother, she came here to get a divorce, and her children, four of her six children from Sweden came. And so, like, my grandmother and another sister, a younger sister, came over on a boat when they were like under 8 years old. And none of these, I mean, my dad passed on in 2012. He was born in 1940, and yeah. But these people. They went. I guess they went from New York straight out to the Pacific Northwest. So, like, my father's father was born in the United States. He was born in Portland, Oregon, I believe. And then his dad and his uncle were blacksmiths. And actually, my grandfather was the first of his family line to not become a blacksmith, but he became an electrician. Now, my father, he was he was a physicist, and he didn't end up doing that. So my father liked working with his hands, and this is my father, and he ran a lumber mill. So this is hi Diane, welcome. Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah. So this is my dad's mill, and this is me when I'm like 18 years old, running a haulback donkey. I'm probably under 18 here. Maybe I am 18. I look a bit more muscular here, and I think I was under 18 because I worked in that mill starting when I was like 8 years old. But when I was 8, it was like I wasn't running machines. And so this is log pond, and I didn't get to. My dad followed the rules. The rules is that if you're under 18, you can't run saws and machines. And so I didn't learn how to do these things until I was 18. I don't have very many pictures of the mill because that mill doesn't exist anymore. It is somebody bought it, and they just store big heavy machines and stuff in it. And so, like, here's a scene here where a log truck is pulled up, and this is the dump donkey, and so then they would use cables, and the cables would come underneath the load of logs, and then they would just dump it into the pond. That's what some of my early art. And there's my dog Pee-wee, and yeah, was my mom and dad, and their dog Milo. That dog's been dead a long time. But anyways, this is what I grew up in, and this is me, and this is me when I'm like 12 years old with a camera, and this is where my art began, at being with the camera. And this, I still have this camera, and it still works. It just needs a light meter and needs film in it, and so yeah, this is me splitting wood with my dad. I think I was probably like 16 at this time. And so yeah, that's my life growing up. And but yeah, my dad, so his mom an immigrant, his dad a first generation American. So they wanted their son to be, especially my grandmother. My grandmother wanted the status of having a son who was a college professor, and he was like a straight A student at Reed College, and Reed College is the Harvard of the West Coast. It is the equivalent to Harvard on the West Coast. So my father is just brilliant, was a brilliant mathematician and physicist, but he gets in one semester in a PhD program. He's in Maryland, and he drops out. And without telling his folks, he joins the army. He volunteers, and this is between Korea and Vietnam. He volunteers, and he calls his folks, yeah, to a great school. He went there, yeah. And so he calls his folks pretty much really close to Christmas Eve. He's in boot camp, and he tells his mom, I dropped out of college. I dropped out of the PhD program, and I joined the army. And it just crushed her spirit because she so much wanted that. And then she was also very disappointed in him when he bought bought into that lumber mill, because it was that. Then it was like final. My son wasn't going to become a college professor. My son was going back into the timber industry, just like the grandparents were, and doing the old Swedish thing of working with your hands. And because I think it's a lot of that was that blacksmith and that artisan, being the artisan, working with your hands and making things with your hands. And that is so strong in my blood. And yeah, it's so strong. And when I look into my hands, and I see my dad's hands when I look into my hands. And so right now they're have paint on them, and when I look into my hands with that paint on those hands, I see those blacksmith hands. I see that in that blacksmith roots, and there, and also mixed in with that Swedish roots were these gypsies, were these a bunch of fortune tellers, because there was also fortune tellers, tarot readers, and fortune tellers in that background too. My great grandmother was a tarot reader, and when I found out my great grandmother, Swedish great grandmother, was a tarot reader, I went out, and it gave me permission to learn how to read tarot cards. And that was almost 2 years ago, and that I found that out. And so yeah, so my Catholicism is not perfect. It is not perfect at all. My Christianity has been marred by my ancestors, the genetic memories of my ancestors. And yeah, anyway, that's my story. So if you go look around and snoop around on my channel, you see stuff like this, because this is very much a part of my life. butt from Travelers. Yeah, so this is very much a part of my life. It's the mysticism of this, the Christian background, very much a part of my life. But is so is that paganism, and so is that the spirit of your ancestors. So is that, and that's also just a part of my life. And at this point in time, I am painting stream of consciousness. And sometimes that is the best way to go, because when you do that, things come out. And I'm going to be, I don't know how many layers of paint I'm going to put on this before it even remotely comes close to being done. But anyways, I really appreciate talking to you, David. Travelers. Yeah. Yeah. So did your family, David, did they work in the coal industry? Because I think is that one of the older industries that existed out there in Tennessee? Was that coal, or what is or is it oil? What is the big industry out there in Tennessee? Where your Swedish family, were they miners, or were they or did they work in the whiskey industry, making farmers, or making corn liquor and things like that? Well, that isn't exactly the color I wanted it to be, but like I say, we're doing thin layers of different colors, and this is where we're at right now. I'm at 1 hour. I wasn't really planning on being on here too much longer than that. And so I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to come back on and do a pop-up. I'm going to work on this a bit more tomorrow sometime. I don't know when. Probably after I play the computer chessboard. And so Friday night, for the time being, Friday night, I'm going to have a game night. And this is a computer chessboard that my folks bought for me when I was in my 20s. This is the only, so this is the only toy my folks ever bought for me when I was an adult. And believe it or not, it still works. It was in storage from like 2000 all the way till like a week or two ago. I think I pulled it out like maybe 2 weeks ago, and it works, and it works just as good. And so I'm gonna play this computer chess game tomorrow night. I think it's scheduled down there at like 10 o'clock. It'll take me roughly an hour to play that game. So your Puritan roots, yeah, from Georgia and Alabama, yeah, raised cattle, yeah, Swedish, yeah, I get you, yeah. So I'm gonna be playing whatever it is. I have that live scheduled to play that chessboard. I'm gonna play it tomorrow night, and then what I will do when I get done losing to the computer again, I will take a half-hour break, and then I'll come back on and work on this mask again, and or I'll start another painting altogether. But I think that's what my plan is. And then Saturday night I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna work on this Saturday night. I'm gonna do another painting altogether. I'm gonna go do something on. I'm gonna do on Saturday night a variation of this. I'll show you a picture of what I'm going to do Saturday night. And let me go into my tablet, and I don't have those pictures printed off, but we'll go over to, I have them on my community post. And okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, well, anyway, I'm opening up another channel. This is my channel, but it's an old channel that I closed down. I have other channels, but anyway, I'm opening a new channel, and eventually I'm just going to be doing tarot on a brand new channel. Yeah. Anyway, I want to get to, because I just changed my channel name, which makes your channel unsearchable for a little while. So this is the last game night I did. I want to go into my channel, and I'm not subscribed to any of my channels, but so if we go in on the community post, and I have some of these pictures. So here we are at the 999 show. It started in January, and this is, I'm gonna do on this canvas one of these pictures here, and this is this picture here. So this painting I did here was in this same place here, and oh, there's me as a young man drinking a beer at a birthday party in like Vashon Island in Washington. But anyway, this here, I'm going to do one of these pictures. This is what I'm going to do Saturday night, anyways. Is this, and I'm going to attempt to do. I still struggle with certain things, in getting that reflection on the water of the sun done in a timely manner is really difficult. But this is what we're going to do on Saturday night. And I don't know. Let's see what time is that one scheduled for. So my next live is scheduled out at the game night for 9:09 p.m. tomorrow night, Friday night, Saturday night at 10 p.m. And then I'm going to try something different after church chat. So like 2 something in the afternoon on Sunday, I'm going to go do something I'm going to call after church chat. And so that's what I got going on. So I'm going to work on this tomorrow night after I get done losing that game of chess for a little bit. I'm going to work probably another hour on this, and then we'll shut it down. So that'll probably be like a 2 or 3 hour live stream session. I have enough lights that I can do this now. And then, like I say, Saturday night, it'll be working on that sunset. And then Sunday afternoon, I'll turn the camera around. You can see my face and everything, and I will talk random thoughts for like maybe half hour, 45 minutes. Anyways, that's what I got for you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody who pushed the like and the sub button. Thank you, Crazy Ender. It was really pleasant to talk with you, David. I really appreciated you telling me your story and about where your people came from. And yes, I did have Puritan roots too, and they were my mother's mother who's from that's my they were the ones from the Mayflower. And so my John Howland and Elizabeth Tilley roots, I also have in that direct line Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon Church. Though there's no Mormons, he is a direct line, but we're not. There's no more. I'm not. There's no Mormons that I know of in my immediate family. But Joseph Smith is in my family line, including the poet Longfellow. Longfellow is in my family line on the John Howland Elizabeth Tilley line, and there were of course they were Congregationalists is what they were from 1800s on, and then my mother departed that and became adopted my father's Christian religion, which was Lutheranism, and I departed from that and became a Catholic. But I am esoterically inclined, so I've actually am not fully Christian, but I am Christian in a sense. And that's all I got to say. And I don't why is it doing this? I want to go down. There we go. All right. Good night, Art, Diane, and we will see you the next time. And that's all I got for you guys. Bye bye.